Okay, so my second YouTube video, I've decided that if I were to keep a constant schedule, it would probably be, making 1 or 2 videos every weekend, because school is a little too much to be doing all this. So this next video is just, I wanted to talk about a time in dinosaur history that is dear to my heart, which is early Cretaceous Africa, so 100 million years ago to 95 million years ago. So that would include, that's like more northern Africa, and I wanted to talk about that time because I have other PS&O figures that happen to have of dinosaurs that happen to have lived at that time. I have a PS&O of Spinosaurus aegyptiacus, and I have a PS&O of Carcharodontosaurus. Now, Africa, 100 million years ago, was mostly a marshland. Much of the flora was mangrove trees, and a lot of it was also a huge bog and coastlines. So much of the animals there were piscivores, or at least the theropods were, or they at least dabbled in eating fish, right? The most definitive piscivore of this time was Spinosaurus. They're probably one of the biggest cases for fish-eating dinosaurs that we have, as its snout, which was crocodilian in nature, was extremely good at catching slimy, very, very fast and wiggly fish. And they also had nerve endings on the front of their, jaw that would detect the motions in the water of the fish swimming around. So they would use this in kind of like a herring hunting. So they're wading in water and they're watching for the fish, but instead of using their eyes, they would use these nerve endings to kind of help see where the fish are. And then if they detected the fish was close to their snout, they would obviously go and bite it and grab it and eat. And on the other hand, another large theropod that lived in the same area and the same time and had about the same weight, both being 7 tons about, though this one's a little larger, is Carcharodontosaurus. Now, while Spinosaurus was hunting along riversides and in bogs, hunting for fish, Carcharodontosaurus was a mostly terrestrial hunter. So, as most Carcharodontosaurids were specialized in, they were really good at shearing off meat from other dinosaurs to kind of bleed them out until they're too weak to run away. So, for example, they would go up to maybe a sauropod that is drifted away from the herd, and then they would come up on them and they would start shearing away at them until blood loss has made them unable to run away and they fall down, right? So because of these very opposite niches, they sorry about that, my mom just woke up. So where was I? Okay, so the two, Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus, were both very separated in their niches, so they were able to coexist as two apex predators of their environment. Other theropods, though, as in Bahariosaurus, Deltadromeus, Rugops, they were more so competing with those two. Oh, and there was another Spinosaurid, maybe, called Sigelmosaurus, I think that's how you say it, though it's usually considered to be synonymous with Spinosaurus, but I just want to include it just to be thorough. So Bahariosaurus was most likely, along with Deltadromeus, they were most likely either Carcharodontosaurids or Megaraptorans. So while Bahariosaurus was about the same size as Carcharodontosaurus at about 6 to 7 tons, Deltadromeus was more on the smaller size. So of the two, Bahariosaurus probably was in a niche where it was half a piscivore just from like dietary findings in fossils, and would mostly eat terrestrial food like Oranosaurus, which was a hadrosaur that lived at the same time, and maybe Jobaria as well, which was a small titanosaur. Deltadromeus was quite a bit smaller, probably around 3 to 4 tons, and its main competition was with an abelisaurid called Rugops, which was a little smaller but was still in the same food range. So they would probably be feeding mostly on Oranosaurus or other small dinosaurs at the time. Rugops actually would have eaten as small as human-sized food, so that's quite interesting. But in terms of herbivorous dinosaurs that lived at the time, there was, of course, your Paralotitan, which was the largest dinosaur in its environment. It was a large titanosaur, weighed about 50 to 60 tons probably. You've got Egyptiosaurus, which was like your Diplodocus or Apatosaurus kind of body plan. Jobaria was another titanosaur, but much smaller than Paralotitan. And then you've got Rebachiosaurus, which was kind of like your Nigersaurus, but just at a different time. And then for other herbivorous dinosaurs, the only one that I could really find that wasn't a sauropod was Oranosaurus, which was a very interesting hadrosaur. I might put a picture here of what it looks like, but it had a large sail on its back. And I might put maybe I should put a picture of the other dinosaurs I was talking about. I might do that in editing later, but I'll probably put them there just for some better visuals. But yeah, Oranosaurus was this beautiful hadrosaur that was very different to others, as it had a sail, maybe a hump. It doesn't look taxonomy like hump spines. It's conflicted of what this sail would have been for, whether it was for communication, display, like, sexual display, or to help with radiating heat off of their bodies. If it was pumped with blood vessels, that would allow it to cool off. I'm more on the side of a mix of sexual display and radiating heat. It could have been all three. There's nothing in evolution that has only one purpose. That's a beautiful animal. And in terms of non-dinosaur fauna around in this time, there was a pterosaur elanqua, which was an asdarchid. I would say it was roughly around 300 to 400 pounds, which is about the mid-size for most asdarchids. It was the only one that I could really find where I knew the name and I could actually find sources on it. I'll probably put all the sources, if I haven't already said this already, I'll probably put the sources that I use for this in the description. But yeah, so elanqua was probably also a piscivore, as most asdarchids are, but it would probably have preyed on much smaller fish, which kind of kept it out of Spinosaurus's competition. It actually might have been on Spinosaurus's food palette though, because it was a pretty hefty size, and it was mid-sized asdarchid. At this time there was also many crocodiliforms like Sarcosuchus. Again, I couldn't find any other crocodiliforms with actual sources on them other than Google AI to just look up names. So that's all you got for me. It was around a 30-foot long, not crocodilian. Crocodilians were not evolved yet, but it was of the same, it held similar nomenclature to, not nomenclature, I guess. It had similar taxonomy to modern day crocodilians. They were relatives of them. And it probably weighed about 5 to 6 tons at the largest, Sarcosuchus, and it was the main competitor with Spinosaurus, though they hunted differently and all that, but they ate the same food. And for actual fish that Spinosaurus, Sarcosuchus, Bahariosaurus, and elanqua would eat, for the most part, there were large sawfish. I forget the name. Lungfish were very abundant. There were also sharks that it would eat. And I believe coelacanths were also around at the same time. And they were commonly eaten. For the most part, Spinosaurus and Sarcosuchus would eat these large sharks and sawfish, maybe dabble in some lungfish, while Bahariosaurus and elanqua would eat the lungfish and coelacanths. So they're eating different food, you know. Now, the reason that this ecosystem didn't stay for very long, it was only 10 million years, is global warming was really shooting up because there was a much higher carbon dioxide concentration than there is now. I believe it was almost 30%. So greenhouse gases had melted all the poles, basically, and the water level rose up, and this destroyed all of the river systems and bogs and coastlines and just turned them into deep shores. You know, there was no shallow water to fish from, and it had gotten a lot warmer, which was killing off all the fish. So sadly, this amazing ecosystem had died off very quickly in terms of others. But that's just something I wanted to talk about, make another video on. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.